Hey there, and welcome to this explainer. Listen, if you're carrying debt right now, I just want you to take a deep breath. Debt is incredibly stressful. It can literally feel like this heavy, dark cloud hanging over every single decision you make. But today, we're going to clear the air. We're going to take all that overwhelming stress and transform it into actionable empowerment. Think of this explainer as your personal, step-by-step roadmap to financial recovery. We're going to break down the exact path to not just survive your debt, but to absolutely conquer it.
Okay, let's just dive right in. To make this giant monster of a topic manageable, we're going to walk through 5 clear phases today. First, understanding your debt. Second, building a simple budget. Third, strategies to tackle that debt. Fourth, knowing exactly when to get help. And finally, avoiding those nasty debt relief scams. By the end of this, you're going to know exactly where you stand.
All right, phase 1, understanding your debt and assessing your baseline.
You know, before we even look at the numbers, we really need to break the stigma around borrowing money. Borrowing isn't inherently evil, right? It's just a tool. But we've got to draw a hard line between good debt and bad debt. Good debt usually comes with low interest rates and acts kind of like an investment in future you. We're talking student loans, a mortgage, or, a reliable car to get to work. Bad debt, that's the dangerous stuff. That's high-interest credit cards and overspending on things that lose value the second you buy them. It just costs you more over time and completely sidelines your long-term goals.
So, once you know what kind of debt you're dealing with, you have to measure how heavy it actually is. The absolute best way to do this, your debt-to-income or DTI ratio. Basically, this is just the chunk of your gross monthly income, meaning the money you make before taxes and deductions, that goes straight toward paying your monthly debts. Why does this matter? Well, because this is the exact same metric lenders use to figure out how risky it is to lend to you. Pinpointing your DTI ratio gives you a totally objective, emotion-free look at your financial baseline before we jump into the active repayment stuff.
Now, I can already hear some of you thinking, but what if my paychecks are all over the place? Maybe you work on commission, you're a freelancer, or your hours just fluctuate. Calculating a monthly income can feel like guessing. Well, here is your magic number, 12. Just take your total annual income from last year, the whole shebang, and divide it by 12. That's going to give you a highly accurate estimated gross monthly income to use for your DTI calculation.
Moving on to phase 2, building a simple budget and taking back control.
I know. The word budget makes a lot of people cringe. But honestly, try to reframe how you think about it. Your budget is your ultimate financial battle plan against debt. And creating this weapon is shockingly simple. It really just comes down to 3 steps. Step 1, jot down literally all your bills and expenses. Rent, electricity, groceries, entertainment, everything. Step 2, grab your actual pay stubs to write down your total monthly income. No guessing allowed here. Step 3, subtract those expenses from your income. And this right here is the moment of truth. That final number absolutely must be more than 0. If it's less than 0, it means you're spending more than you make and your debt is practically guaranteed to grow.
But here's the kicker. A budget isn't just something you set up once and forget about. It's a living, breathing document. You've got to track that spending daily and physically sit down at the end of every single month to review how you did. Did you overspend on takeout? No big deal, just adjust the plan for next month. Finding those little leaks in your daily spending is exactly how you find the extra cash to throw at your debt. And hey, if you have leftover money, stick it into savings so you have a solid emergency buffer. All right, phase 3, strategies to tackle debt. It is time for the repayment showdown.
Once you have that budget dialed in and you found a little extra cash, how do you actually deploy it? Because just paying the minimum balance every month is not going to make a dent. The math is literally designed to keep you paying forever. You need a strategy. So you've basically got 2 choices here. Option A is paying off the smallest debt first. The huge pro here is psychological. You see progress super quickly as entire debts just vanish. The con, though, is you might pay more in total interest over time. Option B is paying the highest interest rate first. The pro, this is mathematically superior. You save the most money overall. The con is that if that high interest debt is massive, your progress can feel painfully slow. My advice, pit these 2 directly against each other and just pick the one that keeps you fired up. Consistency beats perfect math every single time.
But what if you're dealing with really old debt and the debt collectors are already calling? You really need to know your rights here. Debt collectors have this thing called a statute of limitations, which is basically a limited window of time where they can actually sue you. The clock usually starts the exact moment you miss a parent. And once that clock runs out, the debt becomes time-barred, meaning they can't take you to court for it. But get this is a truly wild and terrifying fact. In some states, simply making a tiny payment or even just acknowledging the debt in writing legally resets that entire clock. So yeah, be incredibly careful when you're dealing with very old debt. Which brings us to phase 4, knowing when to get help and calling for backup. Look, sometimes you do everything right. You have a great budget, a solid strategy, and the math just still doesn't work out. There is absolutely zero shame in calling for backup. If you talk to a reputable credit counselor, they might point you toward a debt management plan or a DMP. Here's how that works. The counselor actually negotiates with your creditors to lower your interest rates or maybe waive some fees. Then you just deposit a lump sum of money with the counseling organization every month, and they pay your unsecured debts, like credit cards and medical bills, on your behalf. It's highly structured, and it usually takes about 48 months or more to complete. Just keep in mind you'll probably have to agree to stop using any credit until the whole plan is totally finished. If a DMP isn't going to cut it, personal bankruptcy might be your last resort for a fresh start. And there are 2 main types you really should understand. Chapter 7 is known as straight bankruptcy. It basically involves liquidating all your non-exempt assets to pay off your creditors. On the flip side, Chapter 13 lets people with a steady income keep certain property, like a mortgaged house or a car, but it requires you to commit to a really strict 3 to 5 year repayment plan that's approved by a court. And just a heads up, both of these routes require federal filing fees and mandatory government-approved credit counseling before and after you file. But, and this is absolutely crucial to understand, bankruptcy is not a magic wand. It doesn't just wipe the slate completely clean. Certain debts are going to stick around even after you file. Things like child support, alimony, government fines, taxes, and most student loan obligations, unless you can prove extreme undue hardship in court, those are all going to remain your responsibility to pay. And you really have to weigh the consequences here, because a bankruptcy stays on your credit report for an entire decade, 10 long years. During that time, it's going to be incredibly difficult to get a credit card, buy a home, get life insurance, or sometimes even land a job. It's a massive decision that requires some really serious thought. And finally, phase 5, avoiding debt relief scams and dodging the traps. You know, because debt makes people feel so desperate, it unfortunately brings out the predators. We really need to shift gears for a second because you have to actively protect yourself here. According to the Federal Trade Commission, you need to watch out for these massive red flags. If a company guarantees it can settle all your debts quickly, it's a scam. If they try to charge you upfront fees before they actually settle anything, scam. If they push you to enroll without deeply reviewing your budget first, yep, a scam. If they tell you to stop communicating with your creditors, or, this is crazy, if they promise to create a new credit identity for you using stolen social security numbers or fake tax IDs, run. Run away immediately. Following that kind of advice won't just ruin your credit. It can literally lead to federal legal trouble and even prison. And that right there brilliantly illustrates the absolute undeniable truth about fixing your credit safely and legally. Only time can make accurate information go away. Don't believe anyone who promises they can magically erase true negative history from your credit report. It is actually illegal to dispute accurate info. The only real way to repair your credit is by consistently paying your bills on time, paying down your balances, and just letting time do the healing. Wow. Okay, we've covered a ton of ground in this explainer today, haven't we? From finding your DTI baseline and building your battle plan budget, to picking a repayment strategy and safely navigating your backup options. So I want to leave you with this one final provocative question. What is the very first step you are going to take today to reclaim your financial freedom? Seriously, don't try to boil the ocean here. Don't try to do it all at once. Just pick one thing. Calculate your DTI, write down your expenses, make that one choice right now, and take your power back. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.